Hi, welcome everybody to my latest podcast. First of all, fantastic thank you for everything that you're doing in these very challenging times. We're going to be working with COVID-19 for a while yet, but we're all doing, and you're doing a fantastic job. A couple of things that we'll go through. First of all, we mentioned PPE, personal protective equipment. Hopefully that's getting through to you now. The responses I'm getting back from staff is that it is. That we've got really good stocks. We were really quite on the front foot. So again, I thank the infection control team and everybody that's been involved with that. It is a just-in-time model, so it just is in time. But we have got some supplies and some stock. So again, if things don't seem that they're getting through to you, then can you let us know and we will expedite that. There should be ample access now to testing. We've got some really great facilities now for testing, which I think I've mentioned before, have been very slow to happen, but thanks to our colleagues in the system and to Hull University teaching hospitals who are doing most of our own staff testing, it is working very well now. And obviously we've got the larger screening units at Poppleton and at Humberbridge. So well done for that. And the Nightingale unit, I think I mentioned last time, that is still there in Harrogate. Given the levels of capacity that we've got in crisis care, it looks highly unlikely that will be needed, but we need to think about, is there an alternative use for that? So we're having a conversation. There's been lots on the media around we're over the peak. We are. If you remember last time I said we weren't going to go up that peak, we were going to plateau out. So we have plateaued out. So I'm sure there will be some reductions in the restrictions that we're all facing, and we as an organisation are just having a conversation about what that means for us all in relationship to how we work and how we manage our life in this world of COVID, because the risk is still there. So we need to be mindful about that. Which I'll come back onto very shortly. Hopefully people are getting the hampers and the food. A couple of new apps that's been out. I've mentioned Shiny Minds before, but please have a look at it. It is one of the trust apps. It's a great app, lots of different things in there to dip in and out of, and it will help support you through these challenging times. And at the other side of the tunnel, I think Boris mentioned yesterday, we've got a patient and staff app as well where you can keep communicating, because again it's more restrictive being able to do that, so we've put an app in there, so have a look at that. And obviously the Health and Wellbeing Hub, that's been revised because we're constantly adding things and adding values to it that we've got and all sorts of different things, so please keep a look on that. I'm also quite into things like the Wobble rooms. It was Easter eggs that I mentioned last time, but Wobble rooms, and it came as an idea that I thought about. So what we're interested in is people having Wobble rooms where you can go and just have a bit of a wobble. They may have aromatherapy in, they may have chocolate. There might be just somewhere you can sit down and just meditate or chill or whatever. And I know sometimes it's really difficult to get even a minute or 2 minutes, but if you had a room available, then that might help. And I'd welcome the thoughts of Maester staff who have got a Wobble room and find it fantastic. So they are springing up. So please let us know if that's something that you're interested in, because we can help with some of the trust funding, some of the Chief Executive Fund from the charities point of view, and Health Stars as well. So have a look at that and let me know what you think. I am still Skyping into all the team meetings, so I'm working my way around them and I'm finding those very, very helpful, and thank you all for your conversations. They're really interesting. We've done 2 Ask the Exec sessions, and I think for me one of the things that we're talking about is what we'll keep and what will maybe change as we get into this normality of COVID. And I really quite like the Ask the Exec sessions, and I think we're getting some really good comments back and some really good uptake of that. So they will continue. So we've got another one booked in a couple of weeks. So please keep an eye out for that. Now, I've mentioned a little bit around comms, and I thank the comms team who are working very hard. We are just about to send out Humber and Proud, and that's going to have non-COVID things in on purpose, because there are lots of other things that we need to celebrate, our UNICEF gold standard, etc. So please have a look at it. It's a bit of a balance. There are some COVID stories in there, but there's also things that aren't COVID related, and sometimes that's a little bit of a light relief for all of us. But we have been doing some great work that is non-COVID as well. I did mention about COVID and living with COVID and protecting ourselves. And you'll see behind me is our Back to Basics poster. So we're going to start 2 campaigns over the next couple of weeks. The first one is the Back to Basics campaign, which is a little bit about how we can protect ourselves, our patients and our families in our general life. And it just reminds us sometimes that PPE is vital, it is essential, but there are other things that we need to do to protect ourselves and our communities, like regular hand washing, like social distancing. So do have a look at it. Please do put the posters up everywhere. They're great, they're very visual, and I know that they're being used nationally now as well, because we've really set the scene on that. So thank you to the groups that developed that, but please get them out in all areas. And the other thing is the stop, think, social distance. Because even though when we start to reduce the restrictions, there's still that capacity to pass the virus on if you're asymptomatic, etc., or whatever. So do think about that social distancing. So we're going to make cards and posters just to remind us what 2 metres is, and I know sometimes that's really difficult, the rooms and what we've got, but we have to think about ourselves, our patients and our community. So please have a look at that. And they've been developed with staff as well. So there's some posters, there's some leaflets, and I think there's a little calculator as well. So it will be great. So do have a look at that. The thing is, we're also putting out comms daily now. We'll go to daily after the bank holiday, and then once at the weekends. So again, they'll be COVID related, but we will introduce on a Wednesday our global communications, and they'll have a bit of everything in, including jobs, etc. So getting back to a little bit of normality with that. I can't do a podcast and not thank Captain Colonel Tom Moore. What an inspiration. Absolutely brought a tear to my eye. Did his birthday celebrations yesterday. And thank him. We're actually targeting some of the money in from the NHS charities. So I thank Health Stars and all the volunteers that are spending that money and distributing that money and getting that out possible. But what an inspiration to us all. And if there's anything in relationship to the COVID world, it is people and communities like Colonel Captain Tom Moore. So the next stage, and I will be brief because I know that I've gone on a bit of a time in the vodcast, is Recovery Restore. So I've mentioned all the way through about how we work with COVID. So I think for me there's 4 aspects to it. There's the long-term COVID response, so how are we dealing with patients, staff, ourselves with COVID-19 and COVID positive patients. There's getting back to some sort of normal business, though I know that things have been going on across the patch, but what does that mean? But then it's also starting to plan and deal with the mental health surge and the community surge that we're going to have, and I think I mentioned that last time. And the planning is well established. It's great listening to some teams today that they were talking about how they could do that, and that's then feeding into the wider system, because it has to be a systems approach. And then the 4th is obviously lessons learnt, which we all can learn, which we've mentioned before. A couple of other things that's come out this last week is one about infection control and how we work in hospitals and acute and non-acute settings in relationship to infection control. So watch this space on that as we work our way through that document that's quite detailed. And then the other thing is social care. There's been a lot of conversations about social care and how we can help. There's going to be a lot more in relationship to supporting and working with social care and mutual aid across the patch, from a patient care point of view, but also to help with our offerings for our patients and their families. So please do work with us on that, and if there's any way we can think about how we can work closer in the community with our care homes and also in the mental health field as well. There's quite a lot there, but hopefully it's been of interest. Please do join Ask the Exec session and get some questions in. But please remember, these are challenging times. They're different times for all of us. But your stories of what you're doing are fantastic, so please keep those coming. And please remember, as I constantly say, because I sincerely mean this, every single one of you is fantastic and doing a great job for patient care. So please, thank you. Don't forget, you are truly, truly amazing.